Shoot him. Kill him, kill him, kill him. So we're being videoed today. If you're listening this, you could check the video out on the Dr. Duck YouTube channel. If you're watching this on the Dr. Duck YouTube channel, we got this cool little podcast thing cooking. You can go check us out on, it's on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get all your cool listening material, you can find us there. And we've been trying to do this rewind and kind of talk about some of the episodes we're posting up on the YouTube channel. And we just finished up in the South, in one of our neighbor states, our friendly neighbor states. And our last podcast, we kind of talked about timing. The first split conditions weren't, I wouldn't call them favorable, a little less favorable than we would have liked.
Well, we didn't have the water, first of all, and, of course, the weather. We had some good cold weather there, but we just didn't have the water, so everything was dry.
And then we had to leave that area.
Yeah, because we wanted to go to another area, which we ran into the same scenario. Basically, it was all dry, and everybody knows the story. I mean, you have 100-something guys tied up in one hole because it just wasn't enough water to spread us out. So, we jumped into a different area. We was trying to get that spot, but when we realized how many people were going to that spot, we was like, with a hide, I was worried about hiding 10 people, much less 100 and something. So,
but that's what we were talking about with timing. Just timing of everything for the start this season made it probably one of our toughest in a long time.
Well, yeah, because the time they got the water, we could no longer hunt there.
Right.
So
the timing got a little better over the last couple weeks.
It did. That and the weather continued to do what it was doing. I think we got lucky. When we got back in there, there's plenty of water, and a lot of it was frozen up. So
yeah, got the cold weather early. And so with the rewind stuff, you'll find some of these rewinds. Grant will label that for us on the YouTube. And we're rewinding essentially. We'll just rewind the last two videos. Kind of give you guys a feel for what went down, what happened, some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And when we made it back there, to your point, while we had the water, we got the weather, a lot froze up. So,
I think we had the weather all year.
Yeah, it's a good point.
We've had it all year. It's probably been the best year for us. Temperatures being where they need to be for the ducks.
And snow up north.
We did a great job in Texas. We finally got enough weather. The perfect storm, what I would say for Texas, finally happened. It doesn't last long, but it happened, and we took advantage of that as well. So I think the weather has been, in my opinion, as far as the South goes, in the areas that we hunt, it's been on point. I just think we had water issues. As far as the timing on the water issues, is reflecting back on that, is just timing, not having the water, and when you do have the water, we wasn't allowed to hunt those areas. So that was the killer. And I think Oklahoma right now, that's one of our spots. It was just so dry. It was bad, and it's still bad. It's not where it needs to be as of yet. So a lot of that is what I consider, I guess, timing. Bad weather, not being able to hunt certain areas when they did have the water. So it killed us.
So after Christmas, we kill a few birds there in the East Texas area. Our home state enabled us to be around for the holidays. The timing that we talked about being bad was kind of starting to turn a little bit. We go home for Christmas, kill a few birds in our neck of the woods. Our good neighbors open the doors back up for another 10 days. On state land, we slide back over there. Temperatures dropped. A lot of stuff froze up. So what we were doing when we got in that area was looking for water. I mean, we had plenty of it, but a lot of it was locked up. So we were
Yeah.
looking for open water.
Open water. And there is advantage there. I mean, it was a lot of open water. What I consider was open. There was a lot closed, but dealing what we was having to deal with the frozen parts and non-frozen part was a lot easier than dealing with the dry. So just to find open spots was not as hard. So we did find one, and it worked out for us on day one for sure.
In that video, Grant, what's that? Calm before the storm.
Yeah.
And what you'll find there is we found a bigger hole. We were expecting high winds that day. We found a hole that we didn't have to break ice on. It was open.
Half of it.
Yeah.
So half the hole was open, and then, of course, the weatherman told us it was going to be 20 to 25 mile an hour wind. And I like hunting. My opinion is I like to be in bigger holes just for that wind, just to give them enough room to get down. Number two, I just don't, if you hunt in a tighter hole, sometimes those trees start moving back and forth at 20-plus miles an hour wind. And I think sometimes when that happens, it flares some of your working birds out. Not saying all of them, but most of them, I feel like I have a better opportunity.
Bigger hole.
Bigger hole. Also, that was basically our first day back as well, and it gives us a chance to find a highway as well. Gives you more, because it's hard to see in the trees to begin with. So if you get a bigger open spot, it gives you that luxury of finding other birds working in different areas. If you're not in the right area, maybe you can see where the right area is by hunting the bigger spots, especially being on your day one back.
And we were close. I'd say we were on a highway.
We were on I think it was a fairly good highway. I think that the calm before the storm was more trafficking birds more than hunting birds where they wanted to be. We had to do a whole lot of calling, a whole lot of convincing. We put out a big spread, a very big spread, trying to get that attention, and it seemed to work out for us. And so, to me, I think that put us at a little advantage of having that bigger hole, big spread. Ducks see, they see that big spread early. We had a few of them working in there early. So I think that was to our advantage.
Another thing to our advantage that day, being near that highway, we kind of figured some things out, which led to you taking a walkabout at some point during the morning to try and nail something down for the next day.
Yeah. Seen a lot of ducks working. You took a little walkabout and you came back. A couple other guys did too. And, I was there, trying to finish some ducks, get some more ducks on the water, which we did while y'all was off walking around. And then, just going off what y'all were saying, I figured it would be better for me to just take a little walkabout towards the end of the day. And I did. And then I kind of found a spot that I kind of liked. And I came back. I just took a couple guys back with us because it was almost closing time just to see how they would react in that spot. And I didn't like the reaction. When I first got there, I liked it. I had two groups come in. It looked fairly good. And I was like, okay, this is probably a great possibility where we're going to set up. So what I did was I had enough time, so I went back, grabbed a couple guys, a couple guns, set up in there for a little bit just to see what would happen and see what the reaction would be. And of course, I didn't get the reaction that I liked. So I kind of just watched the ducks again. And when I tell you, it was a lot of ducks. And some would look, but most of them wouldn't. And what I realized was when I was sitting there calling, I was like, there has to be something bigger and better because these ducks are not even paying attention now. They're going straight behind us, straight down, working a few times and going down in the area. And nobody was shooting there, not all morning.
And I think that's the important part. A lot of people ask about scouting on property like that. You got to be off by noon. You never want to interrupt anybody else's hunting. But that area we were set up in, there was nobody hunting back behind us that direction for a long ways.
For a long ways. They was on the other side of where we was at. Matter of fact, I think it was a big slough that separated us. I never did walk back there and look at it, but how deep it was. But they were definitely on the other side. But anyways, I noticed from the previous morning when we was hunting earlier that morning, not the previous morning, but earlier that morning we was working, and they was working that area, so I kind of moved closer to that area. And then when I did, I thought I'd found it, or close to it, which I did. I was about 500 yards off, and then I took another walkabout. And then I realized where they were at. I mean, there was probably over 1,000 ducks sitting in that hole. And the thing is that, you know, of course, when you see that many ducks and you're walking in water, you're going to make noise. A big wad of them got up. And they made about 2 to 3 circles, and they came right back down, and right down in that spot. So I marked it. I knew if they were that comfortable to come back that quick, I knew it was going to be good. And so of course, I did shoot a duck that morning when I did take that walk. I mean, he just came right down on top of me, and then he made a few circles right underneath the tree canopy, and I was like, well, I'm going to just shoot him.
Well, if you hadn't, I'm pretty confident he would have went and told everybody else, look, I saw this guy. I've seen this guy before. We need to clear out of this area.
Right.
So I think you made a good move. Good decision right there.
Yeah, so I went ahead and popped him, but that was me not being patient, I guess. And I shouldn't have maybe pulled the trigger, but I couldn't help it. I mean, it was just like I couldn't resist it. So I pulled the trigger, shot him, came back, told everybody, hey, if it, you know, I pretty much told them it's going to be good. And my concern was that the guys on the other side that we talked about previously saw the same thing that we saw, and it was going to be a race. And, of course, we had a guy that was pretty fast and gave him the spot to run. And apparently, and then I can't remember where you and Timo were at. But anyways, me and Grant ended up running the hole. And
what happened to the fast guy?
I don't know what happened to anybody else. I don't know where everybody else ended up. It was I don't understand how me and Grant ended up in the spot to run it, knowing I'm not the fastest guy in the group. Nathan was, but he says I gave him the wrong pin, which I don't know. I haven't went back and checked. I don't think I did. But anyways, because I looked at it pretty hard. And he told me, he sent me a call. This was the scary part about it. He sent me a call, oh, man, a boat's already sitting in it. Because there were some boats. They had lifted their boats up over that levee part, which wasn't there the day before.
Right.
Nobody was there, really. It was just us. Then the next day, we show up to run the hole. There's 2 or 3 boats in that area. A couple other guys on the bank ready to run. I'm like, there's no shot. You know, they're going to run that boat to the other side of that slough, jump out, and they're going to run. They're going to be so far ahead.
They all missed it.
Yeah, so I did the grandpa move. I just kind of, you know, waddled my way all the way back in there. And, you know, and then I got the phone call saying they already got it. And I was like, where he was at, I was like, well, I got to walk through it anyway. So I'm going to go by there and just check it. And that's what I told Grant. We're going to go by there and just check it, just to make sure. I get closer. I don't see no headlamps. I don't hear nothing. Finally, I'm within 50 yards of that hole. And I said, you know, I got a headlamp on. Grant's got a headlight on. You know, we got a dog running through the water. We're making plans. I was sure they're fixing to flash us any minute. No flashing. I walked right up in it, look around, figured, you know, a guy might be asleep up against a tree somewhere. Nobody there. I called everybody and said, we got the hole. So it was just one of those things, like, I think everybody just either didn't run far enough or ran past it. I don't know what happened, but we ended up getting it.
There was several people in that area that morning. And so now we're moving from calm before the storm to the storm video.
Right.
And that day was I don't know, 11 or 12 man by, well, I think we were done at 8:08. I know we were. It was 8:08 by the time we was done. And there were several groups. So you could tell they was paying attention to the day before. But I don't think anybody, I mean, that's why we call you the doctor. You got over there, put eyeballs on it, nailed it down, dropped the pin, and made sure you could get there the next day. And, you know, to our advantage that morning, I think they missed it. Because there was, I don't know, what do you think, 5, 6 groups in that general area next day?
Yeah, that next morning it was for sure. There was 3 boats I know they had lifted their boats up over
the levee.
And then there was at least 3 or 4 probably other guys ready to run from the levee. And I don't know, I don't know how they missed it. Honestly, I don't know if it was just we just got real lucky that morning, because there's no way I should have got that hole, but I did, and I was very thankful for it. And of course, the next day, follow up, we didn't get it. We wouldn't even know. I don't even know if we could have been close to it. But
a lot of traffic.
A lot of traffic. Anytime you got a lot of shooting in the Pacific area, you got a lot of guys that hunts that place a lot, and there's some guys. We've been around them. I can't do it, but there's some guys they can pinpoint those shots, and they know exactly what hole it is. And then you got the guys, and I introduced those to Grant. Then you got some guys who drift the river, listening for shots, and so then you got those guys listening, and then they're coming around, they're honing in on it. It's kind of like buzzards on the road. You know what I mean? Somebody hits a deer or an armadillo. You got 1 or 2 armadillos, and you look up and there's 50, right? Everybody's circling that thing like it buzzards. And so you got a lot of people honing on in that situation. And just, the last couple years, you and I have just gotten older. And so day 2 on a spot, because, we always have that theory to go back to it until we run out of ducks, until we shoot them out, right? Well, we haven't had that privilege because we can't get the hole on the second day. And that's just part of it. I'm not mad about it. It's just part of it. It's part of public land hunting. It's something I respect. If I was 20 years younger, I would probably be, I probably wouldn't have to worry about it because I could probably win the hole again. But when there's low water and you're foot traffic, it's just hard to do. But that's the part I enjoy. It's just a part of the competition of it, and that's just part of the nature of the beast of the game, I guess you would say, on public ground.
Well, you know what? You say that. I mean, it's coming out your mouth, but in my history with you, I don't know how many times, if you got this hand, I found ducks. I narrowed down this spot, this is where we need to hunt today, versus this other hand, hey, they beating them up real bad over here. We need to get over there and see what's going on. This hand outweighs that big time.
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Shot chases.
Yeah,
I know you're staying away from that phrase, but shot chasing is a real thing.
Right. No, I don't shot. I honestly, I hope there's not anybody out there can accuse me of shot chasing, because to me, I find pride in finding the birds, especially when you're on public ground and you find a group like that and you have a big success hunt. To me, I come out of there with a big win. Sometimes when you shot chase, I just think sometimes, okay, you beat a guy there that's already found them for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of a half or less half win. You really just can't pat yourself on the back, because what did you do? You just outran the guy that found the birds, right? That's right. What you did. But I can't knock it. I mean, because it happens. And, of course, like last year, I think I was like 0 for 7 or 8 on day 2. This year, I can guarantee you I'm already like 0 for 3. And so we just can't win the hole the next day. I need to find that fast kid that can run track. You know what I mean? I need to find that guy that can just run it for me. Look, I'm going to find him. I just need you to get it for me. That's all.
Day 2.
Day 2.
I'll be all right day 1.
Day 1's easy. But day two's been blisters for sure.
But to your point, that worked out for us. They either overshot it, undershot it, went around it, whatever. And I've been racking my brain trying to figure out where Mo and I went that morning. We had the easy job of getting the hole on day 1. And I say easy, it was pretty slick. Running in that hole that morning, me and Timo was, and he comes shooting by me. We didn't realize how icy it was, and I'm trying to move pretty quick, and all of a sudden Mo comes sliding by. I'm thinking, oh, what are we into? But to your point, it all worked out that morning.
It did.
And your setup, when you go back and look at this video, and I think you talk about it in the video, but the setup is a little different. A lot of times you're looking for an open hole, obviously, they can get into. You're a guy who's specific about landing areas. You like clean areas. We're not typically looking for those thicker areas until later in the year. This was the end of December still, about to be the beginning of January. You like clear spots. This was not a clear spot. A lot of buckbrush, and you kind of had a specific vision in your head, just like you always do going into this hunt that morning.
Right. Well, it's just, to me, it relates back to the Texas timber hunts. And so, if you go, if you want to compare the two states, Arkansas holes are clean. They look like a park.
A little pond.
They look like a pond. You could take a pond in the middle of the field, basically what it is. Only thing you're doing is changing the landscape behind it. Okay? Instead of having coastal grass, trees.
Yep.
That's it. That's what you're hunting. You're hunting small ponds. Texas timber is not that way. Texas timber is pretty close to being true timber hunts. And so you do look for the break in the trees, but normally underneath the trees is buckbrush, and it's tall buckbrush. It could be anywhere from 5 feet to 8 feet. You know what I mean? Some of it's tall, some of it's short. But once they get below the tree canopy and they can fly under the tree canopy, it's all clear under the big trees because nothing can grow underneath the big trees. So there was kind of a thing I think that helped us on that hunt was just having the knowledge of saying, okay, you got big trees,
they can get in,
and then outside that buckbrush is clear as a bell, clean canopy, and then there's one little open spot where they could come straight down, depending if they wanted to or not. And I think 2 or 3 of them did, but the rest of them preferred to come down, fly into the clear timber. So I think that part, just having that experience from hunting from Texas, bringing that over there, and I know a lot of Arkansas boys do the same thing because later in the season, that's kind of what you look for as well.
Right.
So, it was just some late season birds looking for smaller holes, brushier holes, or whatever you want to call it. But that's what was going on. And they was just in there hiding. Of course, a lot of water was frozen up, like you said earlier, but it was starting to thaw out that day. So I was concerned about that too, because a lot of water that was frozen the day before started opening up the next day. I mean, because it got pretty warm. And so that can affect your hunt as well. So, but unfortunately, it didn't. They still came back.
And it's you gotta enjoy those moments where when you find them and you find that spot and you get that. We always talk about it when you're scouting, you're looking for this and you're thinking how am I going to hide these guys the next day? What wind am I going to have? How they're going to work? And we get there and it. In all honesty, it all worked like you expected it to.
Right. When you go in there and you scout, which I couldn't get too close, but I could see pretty good what I needed to see. And I knew and we had a big group of guys. I knew where all the guys needed to be. We was going to push back here because I knew once they flew in, they was going to drift that way. So we didn't do too many shots on the water. A lot of them we were shooting them as they was flying through the trees. And I knew that's how they were going to fly in because I just watched them the day before do it. So I just took that knowledge of seeing exactly how they did it and just put it to our advantage that next morning. So that's the whole part of scouting.
And it worked out.
It worked out like a dream come true. And that's the thing for me. Even if we don't shoot another duck the rest of the year, yes, I have to tell you the truth, I'd be frustrated. I ain't gonna lie to you. But to have that type of success on public ground, putting the grind work in,
especially the way the year was going.
Yeah, especially the way it's been going, and to break it out like that and have one of those type of hunts is, I think that's what everybody works for, and I think that's what everybody keeps going back for, is to have that. And we had it finally. It took us a long time to get it, but we finally got it. And so, but the day before, no disrespect to that, it was still a great hunt. We killed
27, 30 mallards.
Yeah,
day before,
and what was special about that is that we landed birds that didn't actually really want to be there.
Right.
You really convinced those birds, hey, come over here, and they did. And so that's a hard job in itself, is trafficking birds. So, we had 2 types of different hunts and 2 different days. Both hunts were very successful. Both hunts was like top of the line for me, because anytime you can traffic birds and convince birds to come into your spot when they really don't want to be there, something's pretty special about that.
And something else special about that, in my opinion, is the group of guys you mentioned earlier that are going to be there day 2, that hole was taken.
Yeah.
The cool thing to me is we were able to skirt the area the birds really wanted to be, still shot them. Day 2, when we show up, the concentration of people went to where we was yesterday, not to where we were moving to,
right.
which enabled you to wiggle your way in there day 2. So
right.
it all really it all worked out.
It all worked out. But no, we just got lucky and found that great spot, and and having the open water and having great success was a big part of it. So
another big part, in my opinion, is who was there. Obviously, we go there every year and we try to share time with Hunter and some of them guys we see every season. But we had some new guys hunting. This is the first time, and since we worked with Retay, and Jesse's been a great partner and such a good guy to hang out with. This is the first time we've been able to share time with him and John Langston, who's a hunter. Friend of Hunter's, so we had a few folks on this day with us that we haven't shared time with in the trees, and to get to share time with anybody in the trees any time of year is great.
It's great, and
but to be able to shoot that many birds with them,
I told Jesse, I said, listen, it ain't, it's hard to explain to a guy that's never hunted the timber, and you come in and you have 2 bangers back to back, and he leaves down. He comes in hot and has 2 great hunts, and guess what? He leaves when it kind of starts going downhill again. We couldn't get that hole back, but. I would love to see what would happen on day 2 if we got it, but of course we didn't have that opportunity. But he came in on two bangers there, and if you was want to hunt the timber, that's what you want. But to do it on public ground is something special.
Right.
I notice a lot of guys that are on private, they're having a bang up year, and congrats to those guys. I ain't got nothing bad to say about that. And they still every day I see them post, and they putting some hangers up. But I'd rather have the season that I had and the effort that I had to put into it, the grind and the hard work that I had to do, and have that kind of hunt on successful public ground. There's nothing, especially at our age, there's nothing compares to it. So I know those guys, they got their own process and things that they have to go through to make things happen. But I just think sometimes the challenge on public ground just succeeds anything that those guys has to do.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. We finish out there, and it's a complete change of scenery for us. We spend 2 or 3 days on the road driving. We go pick up our buddy Grant in Kentucky. We slide through a couple more of these northeastern states, and we end up with Cody from. I guess the first season we filmed with Realtree was with Cody, and we've been talking about sharing time with him for years now, and we finally made it happen.
Finally made it happen. And the thing I learned about this up here is it's a different element, for sure, what these guys have to deal with. It's not only the weather. It's, I guess you would say, the tide is the most important thing.
You got to watch where you park that rig.
You got to watch where you park it, what time you're going in. I mean, when they told me yesterday we're going in at 11 o'clock, I'm like, I was thinking 11 p.m. at night? No, 11 a.m. I'm like, what? And so to me, it's been a whole different atmosphere, type of hunting. We go from trees to pretty much
wide open salt marshes.
Yeah, with just grass probably 3 foot, 4 foot tall, maybe tucking down in that, and trying to figure out, and it's, to these guys, they see a lot of ducks, and we've seen a few. Compared to us, it's very little what we've used to seeing, but we're hunting a black duck too as well. So we kind of broke it down to just one category, and once we get the black duck, then we're going to chase some other species. But we really came up here to get that, and there's I guess it's just not a lot of them. You know what I mean? Compared to what we see. But
the groups are definitely, we've seen, and we got out yesterday, and you guys will see this in the video coming up, but we were all able to shoot our first brant ever.
Right. A lot of brant.
And that gave us an opportunity with, we're sharing time not only with Cody, but 2 of his good friends, Nick and John, and we're very gracious to these guys opening their arms and helping us out, kind of familiarize us with what they do here and how they do that. And yesterday doing that with the Brants enabled us kind of an opportunity to get eyes in the marsh and see what numbers were, what they were doing. And it seems like it's not like we're watching groups of 50, 100, 150 mallards working.
Right.
These black ducks are in 2s and 3s, maybe 6 or 7 here and there.
What I seen yesterday, now we did see some smaller groups, but what I seen yesterday, a lot of them's already paired up. And, like, they don't want any company. It's like, we want this little pothole, we want it to ourselves.
Club's over, we need a room.
Yeah, so that's what I've seen. Now, of course, closer to roost time yesterday, we did see, well, honestly didn't see any big groups, but like pairs going into one certain area. And that's the place we set up this morning. Of course, the tide rose in, and according to the guys, when the tide's on the way up and when the water gets higher, the ducks move to the rest area as well. And they won't come back until the tide starts receding. So that's what we're waiting on right now. So we went out this morning. Tide was on the rise. Of course, they were right. Didn't hardly see anything fly. So we're going to go back this afternoon and when the tide starts going back down and jump in our spot and see if we can't make anything happen. But, yeah, these guys have a whole different element. They only don't have to deal with the weather. This tide thing is it's a whole new ball game up here.
Yeah,
and the hide too is a challenge. So, we're in the trees, and, we have that advantage of the trees where even if we're setting up a little bit to our disadvantage, we're still in the advantage of having a big, tall oak tree. You know what I mean?
Right.
These guys don't have that luxury at all. So it changes it up a little bit. It's definitely a challenge.
I'm looking. Got to hang with me here.
Even some buckbrush would help up here. You know what I mean?
Ain't much of nothing.
It's nothing. I'm talking about it's if you can find some, I don't know if they call them tules up here or sawgrass. I don't know what the name is, but it's some kind of grass, and it's not. I'm telling you, if it's between 3 and 4 foot tall. So you're actually, when we hunted this morning, you and I, we were on our knees. You know what I mean? Hiding down as low as we possibly could get. That's basically, and it's not very thick as well. So that's basically what you're hunting against.
Well, I was looking for. I've still got some guys reaching out asking if we selected a winner. And I can't find his name real quick. I was trying to find it real quick. But if you're listening to this and you hadn't heard, we did indeed select a winner of the contest giveaway we were doing. It was a great giveaway. Very thankful for that, for everyone that entered and participated, all of our partners. We've notified that winner. He's acknowledged that, and we're working out getting him all the great gifts that we're including that Christmas podcast giveaway for the kickoff of Season 5. But if you're listening to this, that winner was selected, and that contest is over. And thank you again for getting in on that. But we actually, these guys are ready to hit it again. Tide's going to start moving back out, I think, in another hour or so. So we're going to run right down the road to back getting that salt marsh and see if we can't round up a couple of these blackbirds.
All I need is one.
One.
If I can get one, I'll be happy.
One stupid one.
Just one stupid one. That's all I need. So that'll be worth the trip, worthwhile for me. So it's my goal. And then if we can move over to the sea duck category tomorrow or the next day would be great for me. We could, like I said, we could just start checking some boxes off our list on things we haven't shot, which we have shot a black duck before. But I did come up here to trophy hunt, put one on the wall. And so to me, they're just a very, very beautiful bird that we don't have opportunity to get to very much in the South. It's kind of like when you shoot one, it's kind of like getting a band for us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Honestly, I think we have a better chance shooting a band than we do a black duck.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that's what it is for us, is trying to come up here and try to get that accomplished. And of course, we are having a good time while doing it.
Great time with great folks. So, again, if you're watching this, be sure and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, wherever else you get that information. If you're listening to it on the podcast, we appreciate you guys. It's a big deal to us. Thank you for following along our journey. And if you want to check it out in video form, you can do that, as well as check out all the other videos through the course of the season on the Dr. Duck YouTube channel. So appreciate you guys. Hope you're banging on them, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Simple seconds of glory. Don't you ever forget, my friend, to enjoy the journey.